Hey there and welcome to Dark Blue Nutrition. My name is Katie. I'm a registered dietitian and certified personal trainer. Recently I did a collaboration with my friend Justina and you guys had so many great questions that I wanted to make sure that I was able to give all of them the attention that they deserve. And our question that we're answering today is from Emma_Duca, and she asks, how do you know if/when you should see a dietitian? I love your question, Emma. It's such a great question, and I think it's an important one to cover. One thing that I notice is when it comes to our health and nutrition, there's a lot of shame that can get paired with our eating habits. And I definitely don't blame anyone for feeling that way and for feeling scared to reach out to a dietitian or a doctor or anyone like that, because in healthcare, sometimes we can come across those judgy healthcare providers, or we just see it in the media so much that it's so commonplace that we're scared to reach out for help when we need it. But I want to real quick, before we get into my answer, dispel the myth that a dietitian or someone that is a healthcare provider should be this scary, intimidating person that's gonna judge you. I promise the good ones are definitely not that way. And if you ever feel like you're being judged or that your healthcare provider is not providing what's in your best interest, then A, talk with them, and B, if you don't feel comfortable talking with them, find a new provider. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. Now let's talk about how to know if/when you should see a registered dietitian. The first and probably the most obvious reason to see a dietitian is if you've had health and nutrition goals that you haven't had success with by yourself. Now, there's no shame in this, and I think I alluded to it in the beginning that sometimes there's a lot of shame and guilt loaded in with this. So it can be tough to reach out to someone when we need that accountability, but this is the number one sign that you should see a registered dietitian. Everyone needs accountability, and if you can afford it, having someone with that background in nutrition science, behavior change, and psychology as it relates to food and nutrition is so vital. Some of you might think, okay, someone to provide me support and accountability for my goals. That sounds so easy and anyone can really do that. Well, the truth is that having people that don't really know that background of how food and psychology intermingle can do a lot of damage in our relationship with food. At best, they provide us incorrect and way too restrictive recommendations, and at worst, it can perpetuate disordered eating and eating disorders in people who may already have that tendency. Now, I'm not trying to blame anyone for directly providing someone with an eating disorder, but having that encouragement of restriction and deprivation when someone already has those maybe genetic predispositions to an eating disorder and that type A personality, it can really cause harm long term that I think some coaches and health experts or fitness experts, I don't think they understand what exactly the damage that they're doing is. The next reason to see a registered dietitian is if you have any medical condition that relates to food, that's specialized, or just overall better nutrition will help that medical condition. So a good example of this right off the bat is any food intolerances or food allergies, especially if you're not really sure what you might be allergic to or what things cause flare-ups in your gut or in hives or anything like that. Most of the time you will work on something like an elimination diet where you kind of figure out your body and what exactly feels good and what doesn't and what causes those symptoms to occur. A few more examples would be diabetes, heart disease, thyroid issues, PCOS. All of those conditions have tons and tons of evidence-based research to show that changing your nutrition, changing your diet a little bit can really help those conditions and the quality of life you have living with those conditions. So definitely don't skip out on a dietitian if you have any of these conditions that directly correlate to nutrition being the number one way to improve quality of life. And then another health condition that is really uber important to see a dietitian for is an eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia. You definitely want to see a dietitian. I mentioned it earlier, but dietitians have tons and tons of insight into not only nutrition and how that can help you heal, but also how that psychology plays into the eating disorder itself and how those two intermingle. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't also have a therapist, because I think it's really important to have a multidisciplinary team when you have an eating disorder. So your regular doctor, a therapist, and a registered dietitian. All of those will really help you heal your relationship with food and heal from your eating disorder. Another good reason to see a registered dietitian is if you have any sports or performance related goals. So this could be for weightlifting, it could be for a professional sport, it could be for an amateur sport, or whatever you would call like a non-professional sport. I'm not really a huge sports person, but I work with a lot of individuals in the fitness world where they don't necessarily do like an organized sport per se, but they have fitness goals like growing muscle. For me in particular, I help my clients do that without macro or calorie counting and doing it in a more intuitive approach. So that is a really good reason to see a registered dietitian, especially if that dietitian has like a personal training certificate and a dietitian credential. It's a 2-in-1 bonus, and they can help you get to those performance goals like muscle gain without sacrificing the foods that you love and without being too restrictive of your food habits. Because I know one of the reasons I really love the fitness world and why I'm so passionate about working with individuals on more intuitive eating type approaches in the fitness industry is because the industry itself is so restrictive at large. It's so common to use these really extreme tactics to get the goals that you want. And so I want to have like a different dialogue around the whole thing. And hey, I have a bonus reason for you to see a registered dietitian. And honestly, you can see a dietitian whenever suits you. We're here to help you with any nutrition goal, any health goal, anytime, any place. But my bonus tip for you is that if you're not feeling yourself, if you're feeling lethargic, low energy, and just kind of off, your digestion is off, your mood is off, you're just not feeling like yourself, I think that's a great reason to see a dietitian, because a lot of how we feel, especially as it relates to just energy, has to do with food, because food converts to ATP, which is energy in our body. There's a lot of nuance to what I just said, and that's not to say if you're depressed, the only thing that's gonna cure you is nutrition, but it is a really important slice of the pie or the puzzle or whatever you wanna call it. And it's really important to just reach out for support if you're ever feeling like something feels off. If it's at all possible, a dietitian would be a great addition to your support team. So let me know below which one of these reasons resonated with you, if any of them did. Do you think it's time for you to see a registered dietitian? Or have you seen a dietitian, and what was your experience with that dietitian? I personally do have my own nutrition coaching practice, so if you're interested in working with me, then check out the link below to learn more about my coaching philosophy. And if you would feel like that's a good fit for you, then definitely check that out and apply in the description box below. If you have any questions, you can always email me at darkbluenutrition@gmail.com, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.